Rev her up there, Tom. How are you keeping, brother?
There's a lovely smell of two-stroke off this episode, isn't there? I love it. I love it. Nothing gets me going like two-stroke.
I'm telling you, and this is an odd one. How are you all doing, everybody? You're welcome along to the Tom and Gerry show, season 7, and what has been sprung on us as a surprise episode. This is the quickest turnaround of an episode we've ever done, I believe, Tom.
We have put next to no work into this whatsoever. But Gerry's purely teeing you up to this because this was never meant to be episode 4. So next week you may hear us. I don't know. Maybe we didn't.
Maybe I don't know.
You maybe didn't or will hear us say episode 4.
Well,
so forget that. It'll be episode 5. We crowbarred this one in because Gerry spotted this news story.
This one was fresh, Tom, and I reckon if we let it sit till the end of the season and put it in at the end where it would naturally go chronological recording order, it'd be dead in the water. But right now, we just had to talk about the Sycamore Gap Tree.
So this was the one that I honestly, when you said it to me, was like, do you know when there's something in the back of the Rolodex of your mind? I went,
yeah.
Sycamore Gap. Is that a code name for something? The police pulled a load of pedos or something back in the 70s or something.
Operation Sycamore Gap.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounded like something, but I was like, no, it's not. And then when I literally typed in Sycamore and it went Sycamore Gap, and it was the fucking tree in that I suppose, what would you call it?
A valley?
A valley to start, a holla.
It's not really a valley. It's the
cleavage between two hills, isn't it?
And the cleavage of the land, Tom.
It is the cleavage of the taint of the fucking land. Up against Hadrian's Wall, this sycamore tree that they reckon was 300 years old. But I recognize it straight away from Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Well, I didn't. I'll be honest with you. And for those of you that are not up to speed, we are talking about the Sycamore Gap Tree, which was in Northumberland National Park up until very recently, last week, when it got chopped down, much to the chagrin of all and sundry, Tom. It was 300 years old. And it got mysteriously chopped down. There have been a couple of arrests. As of this morning, Tom, there is a second person
there's a second, isn't there?
Lifted for it, yeah. And that's how fresh we are. Like, the sap is still wet on this tree, ladies and gentlemen, but we feel that we have to get in on this because when we heard of this tree being cut down, the first person lifted for it was a 16-year-old boy who seemingly went out and cut down this 300-year-old tree in the middle of fucking nowhere by himself. Both me and Tom had to say, no, he fucking didn't.
Not a fucking prayer. Not a prayer. I mean, all I've ever seen is I've never seen the walk around of this tree, but I'd seen the silhouette. And I mean, the National Trust argued that it was actually planted around 1860. But look at, fuck it, we'll go with 300 years old.
We'll go with 300 years, yeah.
You know, potatoes at that fucking stage. Like, the thing was ginormous. It was a big sycamore tree with absolutely nothing else around it, so it was going for it. So this thing was a big whore of a fucking tree. And when the first story that came up from Sky Sports, or Sky News I should say, was 16-year-old, I'm like, what kind of motherfucking 16-year-olds are cutting down trees like that? Like, hauled ass across the wilderness with a chainsaw and cut down a 300.
just something didn't add up about it. And we said we had to cut a Tom and Gerry track about this one, Tom. We had to lay down an episode on this one because it combines so many things. It combines the north of England, crime, tools, and cutting down a lone bush.
I hadn't put all that together. I was just into it anyway. But now that you're putting that, we couldn't put an
episode about it. What'd we tell you last week, Tom? What'd we tell you about leaving lone bushes alone? And not a fucking calendar week goes by, and then some fucking English lad goes out and chops down a beautiful tree. It must be said, Tom. And like, well, you know, I'm you know, not quite at the stage where I would go and chain myself to a tree to stop it getting cut down. But I don't like to see it happen. But I appreciate every now and then, like, a road will have to get built, I suppose, if all other options are exhausted. Now, but when you say it's a particularly special 300-year-old beautiful tree in the middle of fucking nowhere, I don't like to see that, Tom. If that tree had fallen of its own accord, I would have been like, that's sad. That's a horrible thing to happen.
Yeah. But
that somebody went out and chopped it down. Oh, we're going to have to investigate this one, Tom.
But there's no, like, I mean, you kind of half suggesting that one of them lads listened to our episode last week of Peugeot's cutting down lone bushes.
Anton's fuck. I've got my theories, okay? And here's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're not a true crime podcast. We're not a learning podcast. And, we're just a shit talking podcast.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we're going to do here now. We're not going to name anybody. This is an ongoing case. And we don't know their names yet. They haven't been released. But we're just going to tell you nothing that you haven't heard in the news. But what we're going to do, Tom, is we're going to tell everybody what we think might have happened with the Sycamore Gap Tree. And not only that, Tom, we're going to do an O.J. Simpson on it.
If we did it, so is that what you're saying?
We're going to say, if we were to cut down the Sycamore Gap Tree, here's what we would have done.
Perfect.
That sound like an hour of podcasting to you, buddy?
I'll be honest with you, I'm as excited as the people listening to this because I'm not fully fucking sure what's going on at all. I was out stuffing my face at very late breakfast because I've had a crazy fucking week, but I was very excited. I went, okay, if Gerry's into talking about cutting down trees, I'm into that. I'm very much into that. That's fine.
So here's what we're going to tell you, Tom. We're going to tell you exactly what we know for the minute, okay? So the Sycamore Gap Tree is in Northumberland National Park, okay? It's a beautiful looking tree, and it's referred to as the Robin Hood tree because it featured heavily in the movie Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which I personally have not seen on anything other than video. That'll give you an idea of how long back it is since I've seen that thing. I personally didn't remember the tree, but the tree looks like the tree from the fucking Spar logo. It's literally just sitting in the middle of two big ditties of hills, and it's a beautiful looking tree, and it was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And if you're going for a walk along Hadrian's Wall, which the tree is like right bang on the edge of between England and Scotland, right? That's Hadrian's Wall, right?
Yeah.
And you can walk around it. So it'd be like walking down to Powers Court waterfall and find someone had chopped down the waterfall. Like, who fucking done that, right? Who chopped down the fucking waterfall?
Exactly. My horror if I walked up and they'd chopped the fucking waterfall down. Jesus. I'd be outraged.
So the tree stood there until 28th of September 2023, which is last week, and Tom, as we sit here, last weekend, and it was chopped down in the early morning. So they cut this son of a bitch down in the wee hours of the night. And not only did they cut it down in the wee hours of the night, Tom, they cut it down in the middle of Storm Agnes, which hit here pretty hard. I mean, like, blow your bins around hard, but like you were talking about being on the actual fucking wilds of a national park in the middle of Storm Agnes. And straight away, everybody knew it was done deliberately, Tom, because, it didn't have to get the forensics officers in on this one.
The sawdust tends to give away that, yeah.
The sawdust and the chainsaw mark directly through the base of the tree kind of goes, yeah, okay. This wasn't just like hacking at it. This wasn't the wind that blew it down. And they said that they'd lifted a 16-year-old boy on account of it. Now, that's when my spidey sense started tingling there a wee bit, Tom, all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so now it's one thing for a 16-year-old to go spray paint sunglasses on the Luke Kelly statue.
Yeah.
Or carelessly break a thing that are like, you shouldn't have broke that. That's fucking 100 years old. Or you shouldn't have spray painted that. I personally have never heard of a teenager rebelling against society by chopping down any fucking tree.
There doesn't... There are so many reasons why a 16-year-old, as you texted me this morning, there was probably 16, 17, or 18-year-olds sitting at a table beside me. And to say that they were the most disinterested, unengaging humans on the fucking planet, like they were barely humans, how unengaged, like they were glued to their phone, not uploading any or creating any content, just glued to their phone, just swiping through, and head absolutely down. And in the moment I was like, I couldn't get you fuckers to prune a rose bush out of badness.
And maybe we have all this ahead of us with our own kids, Tom, but is that a thing these days that the kids, when they hit 16 or 17 and they're mad at mum and dad, they're like, oh God, that's it. I'm out of here. The foliage is getting it.
You just look out some young fella cutting the lawn in fury.
Just... I'm going to fucking trim a hedgerow.
He's in the right mood now.
And I'm going to trim a hedgerow.
It's best not to talk to him until he gets to the end, but then it gets out the leaf blower and tidies up after himself. Honestly, he's just a different person this year. I don't know what it is. He's just fucking up foliage everywhere, fucking up just plant life. Yeah, there is no unless. I mean, no, there is no unless. Actually, there's absolutely no unless. It's not that the tree was in the way of anything. They weren't ever going to be able to like.
Yeah, we're gonna get into how fucking in the wilderness this tree was, Tom. Like my like honestly, like it was announced on the news as an act of vandalism, and my word was initially I was like, well, this seems more like protest. This seems more like something like Just Stop Oil would do, like, and Just Stop Oil, well-meaning kids and all that kind of crack. But like, would they rip a tree down and say, "Oh, in 50 years, all trees will be down if we don't stop it"? And this is just if you care so much about this tree, then why don't you help us save others? Some sort of protest, like something that had some sort of meaning to it. Maybe not, Tom. Who knows? The dice hasn't finished rolling on this one. But then it come to pass that a 60-year-old former lumberjack was arrested yesterday morning in connection with it, working in conjunction with the 16-year-old. So the two of them together. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I can see where we're going here now a wee bit more. A 60-year-old former lumberjack giving orders to a 16-year-old to do the donkey work. Now I'm buying it, Tom.
Yeah.
That's more like it now.
I would imagine at most points, the only involvement the 16-year-old had was hearing the words, "Would you hold that fucking light straight?
Would you hold that light steady?" The 16-year-old was either doing all the labouring and carrying, or he was holding the light in the middle of the fucking night. Because I don't know if anybody out there has ever chopped a tree down, but you go at it like the Sith.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, always two there are, a master and an apprentice. You know what I mean? Like, it's the apprentice doing all the fucking dirty work.
The microchlorians or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
they're strong in this one. Also, you take cunt, pick up that fucking yoke before I boot you up, which is one you would have never heard in Star Wars. But truth be told, if it was true to the word, the fucking yokel Anakin Skywalker probably should have gotten a few boots in the hole, actually, a few times down the line, like, going, "You stupid bollocks. And no, you're not having fucking breakfast rolls. I don't have a charger for your phone. Shut up to fuck. We're working for today."
Would we say the fur is as strong with this one, Tom?
Okay.
All right, so like, okay, now I can see it. That there's a 60-year-old and a 16-year-old. If they are indeed guilty, they protest their innocence, and I don't want to malign them otherwise. But like, without a shadow of doubt, now I can see this unfolding. And this night did not pass, Tom, without the phrase "Don't stand there."
Yeah. Let the fucking dog see the rabbit, you stupid bollocks. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. Now, why they would cut? I cannot fucking labour the point enough, Tom, to tell you how far in the fucking wilderness this place is, okay? So, to give you an idea of where the Sycamore Gap Tree was, it's along Hadrian's Wall. And I went on Google Maps to take a look at this sumbitch, okay?
Yeah.
All right, and Hadrian's Wall is like a stone wall, all right? But obviously it's very long and goes the length. Does it go coast to coast? I don't know.
I think it does. I could be wrong, but I'm nearly sure I saw an episode of Top Gear where it does.
Anyway, there is a road beside it, like a public road beside it, but it's still a 45-minute walk across what looks like fairly scrubby land to me.
That's a fucking walk with a saw in your hand and petrol. And
okay.
And a few wedges and a fucking chain, maybe. That's a lot, like.
At night, during a storm.
Yeah.
Now, that's if you stopped your car on the road and walked perpendicular to the road over to the tree. Like a 45-minute walk. Go outside now and walk for 45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, and see how far it gets you, all right?
Yeah.
There is a walking path that takes you to it. Now, I couldn't really find where that started or stopped. But again, like, far away. We're talking... the base of Crowpatrick. Like, you're talking about walking around the base of Crowpatrick to find a tree to chop the fucking thing down.
It's not what, and also you ain't walking with a couple of spray cans in a bag on your back to go do, as you said, some graffiti. You're taking a saw, at least one saw, if not two. You've probably got a wedge or two with you as well. Fucking sledge or an axe. Like that tree came down clean. Whoever dropped
That
it.
tree came down clean,
That's why
Tom.
I went when I heard 16-year-old. I'm like, no,
No.
no.
Mm, that didn't happen. All right. We'll get into that now in a wee second of how
Mm.
a 16-year-old had chopped down that tree. Tom, they said they did it over on the cover of Storm Agnes so no locals can hear it. But I'm looking at Google Maps and I can't see a fucking house for 50 miles.
Yeah,
All right?
yeah. And it's a
And like,
national fucking park. You don't get
it's a
planning.
national
You're not getting
park.
planning permission in national fucking parks.
Okay, and I was thinking, we'll go into a couple of conspiracy theories here now in a little second. But this tree is in the fucking arsehole of nowhere. And like, I dare say, like, you could cut this down on a bank holiday, and if you timed it right, no one would fucking catch it at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day.
Right.
Like, I don't know who in Northumberland is just out on the porch at 4:15 in the morning, good weather or bad, just going like, is that a chainsaw? They're going after the Sycamore Gap. Get on the quad bikes.
I'd love there was like a special forces, like the Swiss Guard, purely set up for the Sycamore Gap Tree, like just purely, and they have never been engaged because nobody's ever attempted to cut the tree down. But it's almost like and out of nowhere, like these fucking 80-year-old fucking special forces lads finally go.
Do you know
the beacon finally goes off? But it's one of those oldie worldy beacons, with like a metal cage around it and stuff.
Yeah. A big bulkhead of a thing.
Yeah.
The So one more time, I implore you to look this up on Google Maps and see how in the fucking wilderness of it is. Why these lads decided to go and do what they did. And again, we want to pause the podcast and say, don't chop down trees. Don't be a dickhead.
Yeah.
Despite the advice that we will give you now in 10 or 15 minutes. Don't chop down trees. But this wasn't like, drunk kids, Tom.
Yeah.
Walking past it on the way home and yanking it down.
This wasn't a traffic cone put on Phil Lynott. Do you know what I mean?
No. And again, this wasn't like, I climbed up on the Oscar Wilde statue to get a selfie when I was drunk and I slid the whole fucking thing off the rock and smashed it. Oops.
Yeah.
Kids at play. Or someone that was like, I did Oscar Wilde for my leaving cert and fuck you, and threw a pint glass at him while waiting for a taxi in Merrion Square. Like, this was planned. The weather was checked for this, Tom.
Yeah. And the gear, like, it's the gear. It's just, that's the thing that's catching me. It's like the gear you got to haul to that job to make sure, because if you run out of petrol, you ain't finishing the job. So you're bringing enough petrol mixed. You got to mix your petrol, most likely. And then, Jesus, like your saw needs to be in top action. You need a good Husqvarna going through that fucking thing.
Oh, man. You're not going to this with the fucking Aldi?
No, the Parkside one is not going through this. No, I'm afraid not.
It's not going through this machine. Terribly sorry. Now, motive, Tom. Let's talk about motive. Well, what if we rule out just random vandalism, like okay, just fuck it. I took a wild hair up my hole and I'm going to go chop this tree down just out of pure fucking badness, or indeed, drunken madness or anything like that. My first thought, and I'm sure yours was as well, would be something along the lines of land dispute, be it planning or otherwise.
That wasn't my first. It definitely bobbled into my head. But
a national park is nobody's land,
it's
right?
Nobody's, and that's why I was kind of going, it's nobody's fucking land. Now, here's the question. From which side of the wall, and you may already start guessing, from which side of the wall were the two lads that were arrested?
Doesn't say.
Not north or south.
We do not have that information open to us just yet.
The tree is growing on the south from what I can.
It is, yeah. From what I could tell from the map, it's on the south side.
Now, if you had two people from north of that wall who had a problem, let's say with maybe the hierarchy from the south of that wall, this might have been a statement to say, like, what I'm trying to say is a couple of angry Scottish lads, pretty fucking sour at what maybe what was happening with south of the wall, where they're still technically governed by. I mean, you grew up in Monaghan.
Interesting.
You have an understanding of how lines on the fucking map.
But this is literally a fucking episode of The Simpsons you're describing, Tom, where they rip up the lemon tree in Shelbyville.
Yes. Yeah, that's what popped into my head. I swear to God. So it was like,
I mean, like, that's interesting. But like the tree, I don't believe was on anybody's land because it was a national park. It'd be like me getting mad at a tree in Fiends Park, right?
Possibly, but
Kinda.
if you think if the tree is in England, but the saw owners came from Scotland, it's right out poking the eye to the British English establishment, isn't it?
I mean, like it's as good a theory as we have right now, Tom.
Listen,
The other thing that I thought was that there is a walking path to
yeah,
get to it. There's a hiking path to get to it, and there are public roads at various points that you need public access to. And I guess like some of these paths would come and go over public land. I'm pulling a lot of this out of my hole of a Sunday evening here, Tom. So I was thinking, like, perhaps there might have been some appeal to whatever national body owned the national park to say, hey, these lads are traipsing all over my land. They're leaving gates open, letting bulls out and all this kind of crack. I need you to do something about that for me.
yeah,
And nothing was done. And as an act of
defiance, I suppose, and
defiance and get back at you, it was like, right, well, fuck you and your tree. I'm chopping it down. The whole thing doesn't make a whole lick of sense, Tom. And I'm looking forward to seeing it coming to the fore over the next couple of days.
I think in reality it's probably closer to what you're saying. I mean, I'm a revolutionary and whatnot and everything else, and I had a Glaswegian in the comedy club last night, like, and kind of tore into him for their lack of gumption when it came to independence and stuff like that. Because he'd a bit of an aggressive edge, so I had to put him in his place. So that's where I was coming at.
An aggressive Galwegian,
I know.
Tom?
Yeah.
Glaswegian, I should say.
But it was
Galwegians are famous.
Galwegians are actually lovely people from a fine rugby club too over there in the west of Ireland. But
Tom, if you'd known more about the Sycamore Gap Tree, you could have gotten his take on it.
To be fair, he's here 30 years. I don't think the bloke would have given much of a fuck about a Sycamore Gap. But I would imagine it's probably going to come down to something like what you're talking about. But my notion was possibly because we probably don't keep a staunch eye on British politics or even fucking Irish politics at that.
But forestry in England, I gotta tell you, I'm not very well versed in, Tom.
It tends to pass me by typically on a monthly basis. I don't go
looking for it, yeah.
But I would love the notion that this guy was kind of freedom ran up there and with his face painted blue and shit. And you're like,
chopped it down,
dude. The tree was literally minding its own business, 1 foot inside England. Yeah. Like you, fair enough. You could have cut it by leaning over the wall from Scotland. But I mean, the tree has fallen into Scotland. Actually,
the tree has fallen into Scotland.
It's gone over.
So technically, it's their tree now.
maybe like that. The Shelbyville lemon tree scenario. That it's ours now.
Yeah. Good luck and fuck you. As for why this was done, Tom, we don't know. What we can speculate is that we've said this wasn't a crime of passion, so this was a job planned,
crime of passion,
and
like it was
timed. Crime of passion is like Tom. You have a row with the missus and you smash a whiskey glass into the fire and go out and chop down a tree.
I mean, there has been quite a few people getting engaged at the tree, so maybe.
Oh, the tree is big business.
You know what I mean? Maybe it was a guy trying to eradicate the full memory of his divorce.
That's interesting.
I'm going all the way fucking back. I swear to God, I'm tearing up all her pictures. I don't want to know. Wait, you know what? All the lovely moments I had with her, I'm getting eradicated.
That's interesting.
Down the restaurant on their first date. Fucking found the car that they first fell in love in and rode in and burnt that to the fucking axles, and then went, I got one more thing to do. That fucking tree where I got down on one knee. That's got to go. That's
very interesting, Tom. So you're talking like a spurned lover who was looking through his, or indeed her, but no, his photo albums.
Unless she was a 60-year-old lumberjack.
Unless I mean, like actually, that's it. It just said 60-year-old lumberjack, and bigot that I am, I just assumed it was a man.
The male chauvinists that we are, the toxic,
the pricks that we are,
yeah, absolute pricks.
Oh my God, I never thought, but no, it is a man. I seen a picture of him.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah, looking through his photos and saw a picture of himself and herself at the tree, and he was like, "Okay, that tree's not going to get another one. I'm gonna that tree's done enough damage." Oh my Lord! But this one was cooking, Tom. This one was percolating for a while. So these people planned to cut down this tree, Tom, and spoiler alert, they fucking succeeded, okay?
Yeah.
If you wanted to
And
get a tree on the ground, they achieved it.
that would have
Correct?
cost you a good few. That might have cost you 500 quid to get done. That was so cleanly done. Dropped it right beside it. I mean, clean cut. That was a good job that they did.
That was a good job, all right.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other part of the Tom and Jerry Venn diagram, knocking things down a la Fred Dibnah.
Oh, oh,
He knew where it was going to land. Although we'll get into it in a little second, Tom. It did land on the wall, and we'll get into it in a minute now when we get into how you and I would have cut down the Sycamore Gap Tree, where we would have liked it to fall.
mm.
So it may not, let's get into it. Again, we stress, don't cut down trees. But cut down the tree, they did, our unnamed assailants, Tom, okay? And they got the thing down, and close-up pictures of it. This is when people started to go like, oh, it wasn't a fucking 16-year-old that cut this thing down, because there's actually like a perfect plumb line band of white
hang
paint.
on. You would have forgiven anybody for, if you wanted it to fall in a certain direction, for giving it a cut one way with a wedge, cutting out a wedge.
Yeah.
And then coming in at the other side. Like, that was a big fucking saw he used too, because it looks like a clean across it cut. And
the tree is about 3 foot across, and it was the line around it that kind of gave me pause, because 16-year-olds, Tom, like a 16-year-old will cut a tree down. I'd imagine a 16-year-old will cut a tree down. But if you were just to leave a 16-year-old to his own devices to cut a tree down, how do you think he would go about it? What do you think is the first thing he'd do?
Let's assume he's 16. He's a fucking idiot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Here's the thing: a tree like that in a storm like that, cutting a tree down, he'd be a dead man now.
Oh, absolutely.
That tree would have clipped him under the fucking chin and blown his fucking head into southern England. That's
exactly, yes.
You know what I mean? That thing would have spun, popped up, and bang! Saw would have either been stuck in his fucking frontal cortex, or his head actually leave his body and not have landed yet. It would have hit it so fucking hard.
Yes, indeed.
That's where a 16-year-old...
he would be got floating in the fucking North Sea, is where he would be.
What I really want to do is show this to the old man. I haven't seen him to show it to him, because he would forensically go through that, because he was a lumberjack for a while.
There you go.
My mother's father was a lumberjack for a long, long time. And
I'm talking to the right people here, Tom.
There's form here. There's form. There is.
Here's what I think. What I think a 16-year-old would do on his first day out to chop down a tree.
Yeah.
Let's say that he went at it with a chainsaw. I would imagine that he would have chopped at that for about 3 to 4 minutes before the blade got so hopelessly fucking stuck 6 inches into it that he would never get it out again. Because he would just go, right, I just start here and I cut straight through the thing, and the tree blows over just even an eighth of an inch, and the blade is stuck, and you're never fucking getting it out. You can't. You can't rev it. You can't do nothing. The saw is part of the tree now.
Yeah. Good night and thanks. Maybe get a spanner and just take off the fucking blade and walk away. And just now you got an engine. That's all you've got left. It wouldn't. That I was probably preempting, probably jumping. You're 100% right. There's no way he would have even gotten to the point that tree would have come apart. Like, there's such complexities, and we've all watched the logging programs.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? These lads are class at what they do and stuff. But they literally, if it's a young lad, he's maybe 20, 22, and he's got a guy standing over him who's cut 1 million fucking trees, showing him how to do it. In the middle of the dark, in a storm, cutting a fucking tree down, there is not a prayer in...
Not a fucking hope in hell.
And I mean, look, it could be down to a fucking... You could have said, oh, well, it was just a dare. Dares don't come like that. It would have... And as you said, I assume he used...
Yeah, like a gang initiation, okay? Like, to be part of the fucking Northumberland Crips, you got to cut down the sycamore tree. Like, it's not happening. The other thing as well, Tom... Go ahead, sorry.
Well, you actually made a caveat that, well, I'm assuming he would have used the chainsaw. I can tell you right now,
what I was gonna get
the best fucking steel axes in the world, and I do follow a lot of these accounts on different social medias where the people listen to this probably watch unboxing of fucking game controllers and fucking stuff like that. I literally watch review videos of axes. I'm so fucking cliche, it's not even fucking funny. Do you know what I mean? But there's a couple of New Zealand guys that are fucking amazing. X-Men, I suppose you'd call them. But even they, on their greatest day, would probably have to take nearly 12 hours with an axe to take that fucking thing down.
This is what I wanted to get in. Like, you know, the old fashioned notion, like you see in cartoons, like Elmer Fudd or whoever it is chopping a tree down. You swing an axe at it a couple of times and you cut like a beak out of it and the thing falls down. Let me tell you, Tom, that is not happening.
No.
Like, that is not happening. I have never cut down a tree with an axe. But I did try to chop up a telegraph pole with an axe.
Yeah.
A telegraph pole that was already on the ground. It was lying on the ground. And I wanted to like chop it and have it. I was like, okay, swing an axe at it a couple of times. I know a telegraph pole is like, you know, yeah, exactly. I thought like whack whack, we get this done in 5 or 6 goes. I know telegraph pole is treated and fucking pressure treated and tarred and all this kind of thing. Regardless of which, like it is like trying to. It's like hitting a frying pan, Tom.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is. When you're hitting timber like against the grain, you see people like chop logs. You put a log down and you chop it down into the center of it, and the log splits in two because that's when
the grain. Yeah,
you're splitting it at the grain. But you turn that some bitch around and you can chop that all fucking day, and that some bitch is not. You're as well bite it.
Well, to give people context, and this is flipping all the way back to the beginning of season 6 with Fred Dibnah, we described exactly how he brought down chimneys. What he would do is he would knock out maybe a third of a hole on one side, much like a tree, but he would coincidentally, Gerry, stick lengths of telegraph pole in there to support it because it was that fucking strong vertically. You know what I mean? You could not fucking snap the thing. So the telegraph poles that you're describing are strong enough to take one of these chimney stacks. Like
and I wasn't 16 at the time, Tom, either. Like, you know, so I was an older guy that had a bit of heft to him, and like I forget even now why I was chopping this fucking sumbitch down, but there you go. I had to be cut in half to make 2 poles, I guess. You had 1 pole, you wanted 2, boom. But this 16-year-old, if he was a dunce, probably thought, I'll take a hatchet up and just start hacking at this. And I don't care if you're fucking 16-year-old Brock Lesnar fucking hanging around this thing. It's going nowhere.
The tree would still be laughing at you, going, come at me, son. It ain't happening. But I mean,
the only thing that lad was getting was damp in the storm.
I had to look at that tree again. It was such a fucking stunning cut that quite often what you'll find is there's nearly a step in the cut. Where they'll have cut a wedge and then you go sometimes a little higher or lower on the other side below the wedge.
Exactly.
To really allow for a good fall. And you'll see it looks a bit splitty and it's got spiky bits sticking up and it's kind of a step cut in it. And that nearly looked like, if that's what they did, they went back then afterwards and cleaned it off. Like they were going to make a table of it. Like it was
I just was about to say, you could sand the top of that and play pool on it.
Yeah. I wonder, did they, I don't know. I mean, did they fucking tidy up the job?
Did they go back and tidy it up?
It looked like a laser cut, like God's eye that people are suggesting fucking blew up that fucking that island in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Fucking came down and fucking lasered a slice through that. It was like it's immaculate. Fucking to cut through the thing.
Before, it was so clean. I'm going to propose a theory here, Tom, and then we'll get on to how you and I would have got this job done. It was so clean and done so well that the only plausible explanation is that these men were hired to cut down another tree. They got Del Boy and Rodney.
Oh my God.
Right?
I don't think we can continue with the podcast. That is actually the fucking best fucking
And they cut and they stood back and go, that's a nice job, but you know what, we're proud of our work here. Let's just take a little time just to even that off, not have any big spikes or splinters.
Yeah.
And then fucking sitting back with a cup of tea, and the foreman came along and goes, when are you starting to cut down the tree, lads? What do you mean cut down the tree? Yeah, the tree 2 fields over that I pointed at. Oh, whoop! It defies fucking logic, Tom. Anyway.
Wow.
That is all I think we have to say about the Sycamore Gap Tree. Horrible loss to the community. You know what? If you wanted to fucking cut down a tree and get it out of your system, I'm sure there was 1,000 other trees that weren't just in quite such a picturesque spot. And you know what? Didn't have so many sentimental memories for many, many people and Kevin Costner. But
You're
we're
right.
also saying don't fucking cut a tree down. If you're listening to this podcast thinking, okay, Tom and Gerry fucking hate trees, they're telling us to cut them down, you're wrong.
Well,
With that being said,
it's I'm definitely going to be cutting a couple of trees in about a month's time. I just got to
I've
tell you that
I've
right now.
I've been party to tree felling in my time,
Yeah.
Tom. I never wantonly, okay. I never
Oh
just like
no,
waded into a forest and chopped shit down.
these are glorified fucking weeds. These things that need to come out. They're
The
they're in the way of some good trees.
there was a couple of, and I'll be straight and honest with you now. I talk a good game. Oh, I've cut down a little bunch of trees. I've pruned a lot of trees, Tom. I don't think I've cut down more than like honestly 3 to 4 trees that were in a dangerous position, were going to fall, or were in the way of a wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a big tree down at the roadside of the house, and that came down because it grew outside its station, and was a danger should it fall. It would have been onto the road, and that's not good. So that had to get taken down because it wasn't going. It grew too big to, I guess, too big for its boots. I don't know what they want to tell you, but even at that, my dad says, "Yeah, no, that's not one for you to cut down. That's got a man in to do that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even at that, there are trees that you don't. And my dad sent me up a ladder into a tree with a chainsaw to cut down bits of the tree I was standing in.
Listen, there are times like that's a fully capable job for a young fella. But what I'm saying, your dad was right. Like even at the parents' place, and my old man, fuck me, has he cut down some trees? But they had these colossal things. Glorified out fucking old weeds, if you ask me. But they had them fucking huge. We're talking 50 foot. They would have hit the house coming
Yeah.
down the wrong way. But you want to see the majesty of these two mountain men that cut them down. I mean,
Yeah.
they could have landed them like they literally could have landed them within inside a foot of where
Yeah.
you wanted them to fall.
Yeah.
Fucking gifted. They make the trees fucking dance down. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just I'm gonna get that spin ever so slightly and drop right fucking there. And these trees that were kind of doing their own thing, growing in all fucking different directions, all 4 of these trees all down on top of each other. Immaculate. Immaculate.
And I feel like, to save anybody giving me all this in the fucking comments section, I've planted more trees than I've ever cut down, Tom, by a wide margin. I can tell you that much. Okay, so there's that. So if we're going to cut down the Sycamore Gap Tree, if we're O.J. Simpson writing his book, If I Did It, let's take a look at this.
Are we wearing gloves is the question.
Well, what are we wearing, Tom? Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at the Sycamore Gap, okay? It is in the fucking arsehole of nowhere, all right? Genuinely in the arsehole of nowhere. So we have to consider, Tom, when we're doing this, the ideal weather situations, what time of day we're doing it, what, I dare say, what season we're doing it, Tom, what tools we're taking with us, how we're getting there and back, and roughly speaking, how this tree is going to come down. So I guess it's a bit of a tutorial as to how to cut down a tree, but please don't use this information, anybody, to chop down trees.
Absolutely use this information if you actually have to cut down a tree. Trees have to come down too, Gerry. There's nobody for 1 second going to consider that, at the weekends, Tom and Gerry just go around with their fucking bulldozers just leveling trees for the crack.
I don't know, Tom.
It does sound like a lot of crack, but at the same time, some trees just got to come down for other trees. It's what? This is maybe a problem with humans rating themselves so fucking highly. Sometimes trees. Sometimes you just got to cut out the shitty wood. So
every now and then there's a bad tree that needs to come down because it's pulling down X, Y, and Z along with it. All right, so that's one end of the scale, and then the other end of the scale, you've fucking Saruman the Wizard just ripping up trees left and right by the roots. And,
we'll talk.
Don't do that.
We can talk ents at the end of this
to the nth degree. All right, Tom. All right, okay. So big ass tree gotta come down. Sycamore Gap. We're gonna take that sumbitch down.
Yeah.
Now, if time wasn't against you. If you had your pick of the year to take a tree down. There's no bulldozers waiting to go anywhere. There's no firewood needed. You've your pick of the year to take a tree down. I would argue that you would wait until late August when all the leaves were off it.
Yeah. I
If
mean,
you had your druthers, right?
in this particular area, I wouldn't be stressed about leaves or any of that kind of thing because it's a tree all by itself. Say we're contracted to take down, it's fully legal, contracted to take down the Sycamore Gap tree because look at it, it's just got to go. There's a certain there's a certain breed of bird that flies through that gap, and they're on the verge of being extinct if they can't use that gap to fly through. And that fucking old tree is in the way, and they've contracted Tom and Gerry to come in and fucking take the thing out. So it's fully legal, the whole lot, all contracts signed. And we have our fucking health and safety contract put through. Everything is above board, and we're about to start the job. But you know what? I mean, no harm either. You don't want the place in muck and shit either. So you're right. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be splitting the stones in northern England, southern Scotland either in the height of the summer. But I think you're picking right. Late August is normally a good old time of the year to get out.
It's not.
Yeah.
All right. And daytime. Let's just assume daytime.
For sake, you're up there early now. You are up there early because you want a clear run at it. But Jesus, you're not doing that shit in the dark. That's utter.
But let's say that we are doing this. We're not contracted to do this job, and we're near. Okay, right. We want to make a fucking rock all belongs to Ireland fucking protest. I don't know what we're doing here. And we have to do it at night. Now, when we get into equipment, Tom, we're going to have to factor that into the equation.
Fine.
Now, I took a look on Google Maps, and it's an odd Google Maps. Normally, you can only put the little man on Google Maps down on a road.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's like a national park or whatnot, I could put a Google Map man down right beside the Sycamore Gap Tree.
Yes, because they use Segway. Google uses a lot of Segways to do this.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, they might want to use a fucking quad bike for where this fucker of a thing is. It's beside a wall, okay? So, and I mean right beside a wall. So you've got like a wall, maybe 1.5 feet, 3 feet, and a big ass tree.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the wall, so what we're calling the Scotland side of the wall, Tom, this is important. I couldn't get a clear look at it, but it appears that there is a smaller tree.
Oh, I didn't cop that at all.
Okay, now I think that comes into play with the way that the tree that we're looking at was felled. We'll get into it now in a little second, okay? But there is a smaller, much smaller tree there beside it. And as an anchor point for a winch or some such, that could come into play.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, equipment, Tom. We're going to do this at night. And I'll tell you one thing. I personally, Tom, I'm not going to wait for the cover of fucking Storm Agnes to do this. I'm not going to wait for an orange weather warning to fucking do this. Because you know what? I'm going to cut down a tree at 2:00 in the morning in the wilds of England.
Yeah. You'll be grand.
Anybody that's there at the time is welcome to challenge me. I'll have a chainsaw in my hand.
And who the fuck is going to be there at that hour of the night? It's just not happening. Yeah,
I think the rain is overkill.
Yeah. Rain and the fucking wind. The wind is the number one thing
the wind is the thing.
Any sawman is going to look at that and go, not the fucking up, because the wind could take it. It could take it in any fucking direction. That tree, people don't realize. People think, oh, it's the saw that'll kill you. It's rarely the saw that'll kill you.
No,
it's the tree doing a dance as it's about to come down. And it spins on its axis and can kick up in any direction. That's why you hear timber. It's not so much it's coming down on you. It's to let everybody else that's near the fucking tree to get the fuck back, because this thing will kick up like a fucking mule. Like a mule, 200 mules at the one time, all strapped together, kicking you. And it's not even a case of, hey, I lost my... if it skins you, you're dead, man. You're a dead man. That's it. If it hits anybody, it's obliterating it. Like, there's so much power wound up in those fucking things when they kick down. Oh, Nelly.
That's the thing. And again, like, whoever cut this fucking thing down, Tom, had some degree of skill that they could cut this down in the middle of an orange weather warning, because I'd imagine the tree itself is sort of dancing around and would be constantly pinching your saw, right?
Yeah. Which is...
even if you had that wedge to fuck, like, that thing's swaying... Like, constantly, it's going to be trapping your saw blade.
I think it was a fast job. It had to be a fast job, and whoever did it knew exactly what the fuck they were doing. So I'm guessing they were back and forth, in and out of one cut, back into the other cut, into one cut, out of the, you know what I mean? Because that was definitely a wedge cut in it,
Yeah.
and then, so you'd have your straight, if you imagine well, I suppose, like your set square triangle,
Yes.
you're coming across at 90, you're coming
Yes.
down at 45, up at
Right.
90, down, and probably in and out of both until the both met somewhere around the middle of the tree. But you couldn't go, I wouldn't imagine, in that wind with that tree fucking honking around the place, unless you had it winched to fuck from the far side, like the bollocks pulled out of it from the far side. You'd have to be in a bit, 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 and just back and forth cutting both sides of that wedge, that
Let's
angle.
get it. Let's get into the winching of it, Tom, because
Yeah.
like anything that I've ever cut down, the 2 trees that I've ever like fully cut from standing to down, they were winched to fuck as well.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
it's a necessary thing, and you'd see some now. Sometimes it's not an option in a forest. You know what I mean? You're just going, well, look, we can drop it that way. It's fine. You don't need it.
no,
But
it was deemed necessary when I was chopping these, and I was like, I wasn't looking at this going like, yeah, I think we're going to winch this. When it was me dad going like, here's a winch that's older than you are, son. That's wedged shut with rust and fuck knows what. So let's chop this tree down so that we can also get tetanus,
yeah,
and the winch that we used is called a turfer winch. I don't know if you've ever used that one, Tom. Turfer, TIRFOR, and it's a type of winch which is like a block with a handle on it.
Yes.
with
Yeah.
wire either side of it.
Yes.
Now you could probably use a ratchet strap.
Yeah.
Cable.
Yeah.
But this was built for the purpose. It was like a cable that you put around the tree, nice and high. So you got to climb up. You got to.
Yeah.
So one of these fuckers had to climb up in the middle of Storm Agnes. I'd say that's where the 16-year-old came in.
Yeah.
If they did indeed do it, who knows? Climb up nice and high so that when you tie, you're basically pulling the tree in the direction you want, and then you cut against where you're pulling it. So like, I pull it a bit to me, and then I cut the other side of it, and it's going to fall where I'm winching it, hopefully. And you keep pulling the lever on the winch, like, and it pulls it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter while wedges and whatnots are cut. Yeah. I would not be doing this job, Tom, without a winch. I can promise you that. But I'm not a professional lumberjack, so I need the I need the sort of training wheels of a winch, knowing that it's pulling it in that direction.
Yeah, of course. You mentioned it was going to be at night. Clearly, big lighting. Big lighting. Like, this isn't just your fucking headlamp stuff. We're going to need big lighting. We can do it all in one here. I would suggest a Mark II Land Rover Defender with 50/50 tires under it. You can lock the differential.
You're gonna drive up to it.
Oh, fucking of course I am. Because here's the thing, Gerry. I need quick exit. I can't be fucking wandering off with my saw of my shoulder. Excuse me. No, we're going across land, and we're bringing a Land Rover Defender with big knobbly fucking tires, because you can lock the differential in those fuckers. They will come out of hell if you get bogged.
We're adding hit the diff in here, Tom.
Hit the diff in here, exactly, as well. Big fucking neon fucking LED light bar. Fucking thing. We want to go fucking a million lumens. Like, we want to go fucking.
And you're not worried about the tree falling on your Land Rover?
No. Well, no. I know exactly what I'm fucking doing. I ain't pulling,
okay.
No. We will winch it off in the right direction, but we just need the Land Rover over there you can put it in any direction. We ain't going to drop it on the fucking Land Rover. Not a hope. No hope.
Okay. It sounds exactly like what someone would say before dropping it on the Land Rover, Tom.
Yeah, right now. Now, here's what a complete lunatic might do. He'd send a 16-year-old up high enough with a fucking rope on it to get it up, and then bring it right down to the hitch on the Land Rover.
To the Land Rover.
And the Land Rover be a live fucking winch. So get the 16-year-old on the front, giving it a small bit of fucking half clutch when time comes. And then you cut like fuck.
And put the strain in it and cut like fuck. See, this is, Tom, why I think this is why I mentioned that smaller tree a little earlier.
Yeah.
Because you are in the absolute, if you're going to winch a tree to cut it down, you need to winch it to something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't winch it to a skyhook despite what I was told when I was sent for
No, but
them at 16.
there are ground hooks. You could drive like a tent peg,
You can't
if
get
you know what I
it
mean.
like a 10 peg.
Yeah, I'd like. We're
Well,
talking like a big fucking 3 foot fucking iron bar. You drive into the ground.
but then that's just another thing that we have to take with us,
Fair enough. That's why I was bringing the Land Rover. But okay,
of course. Excellent. I think these lads. I think these lads winched it to the smaller tree on the north side of the wall, and that
okay,
is why it fell across the wall,
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
as
No,
opposed to down the south side of the wall
which is a hill that falls away quite
is a hill
quickly.
that falls
That's where
away
you would,
quite quickly.
if it was for vandalism purposes only, that's where I'd pull it. I'd pull it down
Right.
into England. Not a fucking hope would I be trying to get it up and over the wall to line, because it's like a plateau on the other side, the Scotland
Yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm thinking like they winched it to the smaller tree and chopped and cut it down that way.
Okay.
Tom, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
I'd have winched it to. My brain would have said, "Now you could." I didn't know you were bringing the Land Rover, Tom.
Well, you ask how we were
Uh,
getting there and stuff like that. I'm not walking
yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
nowhere. You fucking cotton.
You see, this is the thing. Like, even if you do park up on the public road and walk 45 minutes over to the tree, like, and you cut the tree down and you run away, you're still just. There could be cops waiting for you at the parked car.
Yeah.
The trees come down. It's clearly these lads' car.
At least
Oh,
with
I
the
saw.
at least with the Landy, you can choose a direction and go in fucking whatever direction you want, and you've all your gear fucking in the back. You're going to be bollocksed after cutting that tree down. Like, most people that would cut that tree down might cut that tree down, but then they're sitting down having a sandwich afterwards. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that brings me to my next and possibly one of my closing thoughts on this, Tom.
Mhm.
Which one of us is cutting it down?
Between the two of us.
Yeah. Which of us is winching and which of us is cutting?
I don't
I
mind
think
doing either. I don't mind doing either.
I think I trust you more to cut than I do
Okay.
myself, Tom.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've probably done a fair bit more cutting. I'm only assuming.
When I talk about blades getting stuck in trees and things like this, Tom, I'm talking
From experience.
from experience, right? I was charged. I was charged one time getting away from trees. I was charged one time with like kangoing down a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a wall built with 6-inch blocks on the flat.
Yeah.
And I was told, round about body height, there's a block there. Smash the fuck out of that. Whatever you need to do, just do it. And when you have that one out, you can kind of take the top. You can kind of take two out, and then you can sort of step them down and then take them up. So you only really need to smash like two blocks tops.
Yeah.
And then you can bolster the next one up, and it'll come up, and bolster the other ones, and they'll come down. Simple enough. I wedged the Kango in it.
Of course you did. Because you were a young fella and you went fucking bananas rather than picking away that nice and calmly. You went fucking...
No, I just went like straight into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a metaphor for everything in life with youngsters there that, like, sometimes you just need to softly go around the edge of things sometimes, Gerry.
This is it. No,
you can't
I mean,
just
like,
go plowing straight on in, you know what I mean? It's
this is what I've said, like, when I said immediately that a 16-year-old didn't do that, because I knew exactly a 16-year-old would go at it with a gulp and get the fucking chainsaw suck. It'd be like same telling that 16-year-old lad, go out and have your first ride there. Yeah. He's not going to get the job done.
No.
He's gonna
get the saw stuck, essentially.
Yeah. So to speak.
I dare you people to find a fucking podcast in the entire world that has just made that crossover analogy. I fucking dare you.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking to myself, 16. We can say that about a 16-year-old lad, can't we?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Maybe we can. If we can't, we'll cut it out. What the hell? Any rate, 16-year-olds, idiots. They're not cutting down fucking Sycamore Gap trees by themselves. So Tom, we get this tree down. We winch it. I winch. You cut.
Yeah.
Or I, keep... Actually, funny to say, Tom, if it was the Land Rover, we were going to put a strain on this tree, then maybe I'd give the Land Rover driving to you, and I would cut it. Yeah, you'll notice that I'm just going to take whatever is the easiest, most foolproof thing to do,
Well, yeah, I'd be
in either scenario.
in my throttling, and we would have to be in tune. I'd have to know when the tree was coming, that kind of way.
We'd have to have a wee sort of Chuckle Brothers style system there.
Yeah. Because there's no point in me putting fucking foot to the floor and honking on this thing until you have. it passed the point, as in the immortal words of fucking Hal Ketchum's song, past the point of fucking rescue. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
this
That
is it.
the tree needs to be kind of going, and then you only want to give it a suggestion to come with you. You don't want to be honking on the fucking thing
And we're going to have a visual method of communication with this, Tom, some sort of hand signal or some such, because I will not be able to hear you, because
over the
I
saw.
personally will be wearing all protective gear. I'll be wearing my earmuffs, face visor, hard gloves. Tom, despite the fact that we are doing this under cover of night secretly, I will be wearing full high vis gear.
Yeah, because you want me to see you at the very least.
You want me exactly, and I like, I want glints of me to be seen over in fucking Dumfries or wherever the fuck
Or
it is
if
on
the
the
tree
Scottish
does
border.
connect with you, to actually keep an eye on what direction you go fucking flying.
Exactly,
Like,
and pull me out from
pull your
underneath
carcass
4 ton
from
of sycamore branches,
pull your carcass out of from whatever part of the ocean you land in.
and we would, I dare say, get the sycamore. Despite all that, Tom, despite us having taken an hour out of a Sunday to sit down and describe and plan in detail how we would, in optimal conditions, in the best possible situations, weather-wise, time of the year, kit ourselves out with the best tools, including the Land Rover that neither of us own at this minute, and I don't know where the fuck we're getting it from.
I'm a disco, but I'm not taking that across there. Fucking, and you want the old Defender, like you want basically Fred's Defender. A lot of this
Yeah,
is very Fred. Do you know
a
what?
lot of this is very Fred.
We just resurrect Fred and send him over to pull the fucking thing down. He'd have it down. No
We
problem.
might be as fucking quick. Despite all that, I still don't think we would do as clean a job as was done supposedly by a 16-year-old and a retired 60-year-old lumberjack.
Something very fishy is afoot, and I cannot
Yes.
wait to see what it is.
And that is why, Tom, I think that the true story of what has happened with the Sycamore Gap Tree has yet to play out. But I, for one, am looking forward to finding out why these people did what they did. And I am also looking forward to seeing them go to fucking jail if they are indeed guilty, because you don't cut down a 300-year-old tree in a very nice spot where Kevin Costner once filmed a movie.
If at the very least, Kevin Costner. If you've got
If
nothing else,
nothing else, Kevin Costner. And that's what I gotta say about the Sycamore Gap Tree, my good friend.
well, you know what? I second everything you said there. I'm just going to blame the government. Something governmental about the fucking thing. Gone awry. It's too clean of a cut for me. For lads rushing it in the dark, in the wind, and
Or
the
lads
rain.
rushing it in the dark and the wind?
Something is awry. Who's to say it came down on Storm Agnes?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah, yeah. Who was watching it the day before?
You're a million miles from fucking nowhere. You know,
were you along the Northumberland National Park the day before? If a Sycamore Gap Tree falls the day before that it was reported, did anybody hear about it? Let us know in the comments. And those comments, Tom, can be found on all social media platforms. You can follow him at Tom_O'Mahony, me at Gerry McBride, or indeed all roads lead to at Tom and Gerry with a G show. That'll get you in most places on your Twitters and your Instagrams of this world. What else would we like these fine people to do, Tom?
Whatever platform you are listening on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts seems to be making a right rush to the top at the minute. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please do leave a comment and rate us highly. I'm assuming it's 5 stars or 5 thumbs or 5 fucking trees. I'm not sure what it is, but it would be great. Leave us a comment as well. It's not for the betterment of our ego, but the more higher stars you get, the more higher ratings you get, it makes the podcast more visible to everybody. Sharing it too does help. That'd be great. And do hit subscribe if it's your first time listening. You're like, Jesus Christ, what are these fellas on about? Hit subscribe. We will arrive into your phone, device, whatever you're listening on, at least once or twice in your lifetime. There's 7. Yeah. We're in 7 seasons now, so there's clearly 6 others to go back
some of these
devour.
Some of these episodes are good, you know.
They're not bad actually. I like that one. I like that impromptu one. We were very on it there, like
there you go,
like news guys. I like that. We're not on it like news guys today. So another one will wheel back around again. Feel free in the comments, as Gerry mentioned many times. Feel free to please let us know your theories on the scenario. If you are a professional tree feller, tree surgeon, which I always find funny because to be a surgeon would suggest that you're actually trying to help the tree, but 9 times out of 10 a tree surgeon is just fucking murdering.
I think it's coming down.
Yeah, so Either way,
You know, and the Tom and Jerry show is a safe space. You can DM us. We won't give away your name. Have you ever chopped down a tree in the middle of the night for whatever reason? Spite? Planning? Who knows? Let us know. We'll chit chat about it, but we won't give away your name.
until then.
But we will kind of.
We probably will.
As pleased with you either, like, you know. But there you go, folks. We'll be back next week with another episode. It may say episode 4 when we're talking on it, but shh, don't let that worry you. Okay, this was
just a little treat in the middle. This is a little treat.
Not a thing to worry about. Okay, and don't cut down any trees. How about that, Tom?
Well, you can cut down some that don't necessarily need to come down. You know, look, we won't judge you if you got a decent reason for it. Either other than that, don't be fucking cutting trees down. But look, no, very few people are.
Terms and conditions apply.
That's why this is such a big story. Very few people do this anyway. But look, I'm away, Gerry. I'm starving.
Yes. Good luck.
Good luck.